Yeah, Jasper Castle actually contacted me several months ago. He's on the board of directors of Friends of Boone Trace, and he knew in his family history that the Castle boys and the Penix boys went up the Big Sandy River on a flatboat, probably late 1790s, early 1800s, sometime around there. And that's probably how my family, the Penixes, got into northern Kentucky.
Okay, now today is what day of the year?
I think it's day 7. I gotta guess sometimes. Days starting to run in together. Yep, day 7. We're gonna be going up over the gap today. They have a great funnel of society.
Yeah. And you stayed in the
Cumberland Gap Campground.
National Park.
Yep, the wilderness campground here. Yep, just camped it out old-fashioned style, looking at the stars.
Okay, and we're going to be starting out here shortly with a guide through the park.
Yep.
And we're going to go up to, I guess where originally Virginia stopped and Kentucky started.
Yep.
And my understanding is just before we start up, there's going to be something at the staging ground.
Yeah, we're meeting a few people out there. There's Pam, Eddie, and Marcus, another ranger here in the park. I think they're coming dressed in period attire.
Yeah.
Going to go up with us. A few other people. Small contingency of pioneers.
Okay, I am supposed to meet y'all once you start over at the entrance to the path going to the Cumberland Gap.
Okay.
And then I'm going to go with Pam, Eddie, over to the Kentucky side and come up on the Kentucky side and meet you there. So that's my understanding.
Sounds good to me.
So it was my understanding right around 30 degrees at the low last night. Does that sound right to you?
My phone said Harrogate was 35.
Yeah.
Is that around here?
Yeah.
I got 33 here.
33 here. Oh wow. Okay. So it's 33 here.
Right around freezing and.
Yep.
Okay, it looks like other people are coming by here. So.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, I'm Mona Dotson, and I'm a volunteer here at the Cumberland Gap National Historical Park, and I'm going to escort them over into Kentucky to the Saddle of the Gap.
Okay, very good.
There's a nice good long and then it's just long uphill drive. Be out in the sun someplace.
I've seen it, I've experienced it. Hello, good morning, how's it going?
Alright. Good eat? Always. Come on. That was good.
Oh, come on. That's what I just realized. Yeah. Something to do on the trail.
Oh, very
Or
nice.
something to weigh you down on the trail.
Yeah.
It's just playing cards. Daniel Boone playing cards. The history all the way to the tunnel.
If we feel like it weighs too much, just sort of leave a card every so often.
Yeah, trail.
You can sign it.
Oh, Dick, Curtis, there you go.
Hi, this is Curtis Penix. I'm on the trail with Daniel Boone Trace, walking after my 5-time great-grandfather, Joshua Penix. And it just so happens I'm here with a long-lost cousin. His great-grandfather was also Joshua Penix. Larry, tell me about what this trip means to you. Well, let me tell you what he's going to do first. He's on bike from Middlesboro, and he's going to bike his way up to Fort Boonesboro, where our great-grandfather spent some time. So what does this trip mean to you?
Well, it's kind of like reconnecting with the past. Ever since I've really started this, when I first heard about your trip, some publicity that you had, and I got to reading about it, and I've always been fascinated with the whole Daniel Boone story, and you know, trying to find the reality of it and all of that. And then when I found out that I have an ancestor that actually came to Fort Boonesboro, settled with Daniel Boone, that made it even more special to me. And more I read, the more intrigued I became. And so I decided that a few months ago that I was going to try to experience some of this. And I decided to do it on bike. And so I started at the Wilderness Road State Park on the Virginia side yesterday, and I'll be leaving out and covering about 30 or 40 miles a day, just under 200 miles until I get to Fort Boonesboro. It's just an exciting thing, and for it all to come to reality, it's a great thing.
Yeah, I've always said that I wish other people would look into their family history, find someone that did something, and put your feet where maybe your feet have never been, but your DNA has.
Yes.
And that's what we're doing today. We're going to be going someplace that maybe we've never been before, but our great-grandfather was, spent a little time there. And I think everybody does genealogy research, trying to find that one person in their family that might be famous or did something successful. Yes. And I don't think Joshua Penix necessarily made a great wave in the country, but he certainly did start off a family that's gone a lot farther than I thought it did. I didn't really know we had many more Penixes in Kentucky, and I didn't know we had them in Oklahoma. We got some in Florida. I didn't know our family went that far, but they did.
Yeah.
And Joshua started all of that.
Yes, he did.
Well, I want to wish you luck on your trip. Maybe I'll see you somewhere along the road. I know you're going to be traveling a little faster than us.
Yes, hopefully.
But it's good meeting you, Larry.
You too. Good.
Good morning. Pamela Eddy, Cumberland Gap National Historical Park.
Mona Dotson, volunteer at Cumberland Gap National Historical Park. I'm from Harrogate, Tennessee.
I'm Kelsey Gerhart, and I am with the Middlesboro Daily News.
I'm Curtis Penix, and I kind of thought up this trip to take, and everybody took an interest.
I'm Larry Penix, and I'm from Pikeville, Kentucky.
I'm Brian Gibson. I'm from Cumberland Gap, Tennessee, the Pineapple Tea Room.
John Fox. I'm president of the Friends of Boone Trace organization and Given's dad.
Always steal my thunder. I'm Given Fox from Colorado Springs, Colorado. I'm his kid.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, y'all in the back, turn this way. Hey, Chief.
If I can get everybody to form a barrier, I need a wind barrier. If you can make like a circle and get really close, or even a semicircle, because I'm trying to light a candle and the wind's blowing it. All right, so here we are at a place that is not only famous in America, but literally across the world, the Cumberland Gap. And we do see people that come from across the world because they have in their textbooks the history of America, and one of the most important things that they must have in there, although I've not seen them, but when we get people from France and Italy and these places that they come to America for 2 weeks, and Cumberland Gap is one of the places they want to be, there's a reason. And it must be in their textbooks, and it must say that this is a place that was instrumental in when we stopped being British subjects and became Americans. When we flooded through this gateway that we're standing in right now, and we started to look to our future instead of what the king wanted. That took a lot of perseverance. It took blood, sweat, and tears. It took a lot of things. It took a dream, the American dream. And I hold a lantern here, and it has 3 sides. I think of it this way. There's 3 sides to history. One is there's the side that actually was the physical burden that those people endured to do what they did. And Curtis, come over here beside me, because this really has a lot, will speak a lot to you. Right now, on the face of this land, definitely in the Cumberland Gap, you're one person that right now understands that physical burden. You understand how their feet felt. They had something called scald feet, and it was where they could barely walk. Many pioneers felt that. A lot of times it had to do with wet feet, burdened feet that had walked miles and miles a day. Have you felt that?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Every evening.
Their backs from carrying their accoutrements and things to make their livelihood in Kentucky. You feel that.
Yeah, sure do.
That is one side of the history, what it really felt like, what their bodies endured and what their bodies felt like. Take another side of the lantern, and there's the side of what they perceived to be what they were doing. They may not have perceived the effect that this journey would have, not only for their families, but for America, the country. Americans, the people. That perception lives largely in our minds today, and we all have a different perception of what this journey meant. And 8% of the American population filed right through here to create what we think of as America today. Now the last side I like to think of as what the legacy that this has left behind. What, as Americans, are we going to do with this legacy? Are we going to persevere, helping one another, working together from Washington on down to make this country and keep this country the great thing that these pioneers suffered to make it? So you've got the reality of what happened, you've got the perception of what they thought they were doing, and then the legacy of what we're going to continue to do. And you do this walk in memory of who?
Joshua Penix.
Joshua Penix. And to you, he was?
My 5-time great-grandfather.
Your 5th great-grandfather. And you can be assured that he stood right here.
Yeah.
He may not have tarried because it was a very dangerous place to be. But he did make it. So what we want to do is, if we can get it to light, we want to light this candle in memory of your grandfather.
Excellent.
So that his flame of liberty, perseverance, and that American dream will live through you on this trip, and hopefully will spark that hope in us, and that we'll carry the thought of this flame in our minds with you, even though we're at our homes, and then into the rest of our lives. So somebody has some way to light this, but with the wind it may be hard. Who's got that? And this is not the way they would have done it, believe me. We perceive. Now let's let him do it if we can.
I might go out before I get to
Yeah,
us.
and if you can move over so that he can videotape this.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Can you see this? Okay. And you light this candle, this flame of liberty, in the memory of
Joshua Penix.
Joshua Penix, whose spirit may still linger here in the Cumberland Gap. Very cool.
Can we be quiet for like 15 seconds?
You hear the birds? Maybe their 5th great-grandparents were here too, you think? Yeah, very cool. So what we're going to do now is we're going to embark, leave the Cumberland Gap, head for the promised land of Kentucky that they could see in the distance, which held everything that they dreamed of and wanted. And we will follow parts of the original Boone Trace and walk in his footsteps.
Excellent.
So, okay.
Would you put that in your pouch?
Thank you. Thank you.
Good job.
You're on.
I've walked this a lot, and it's sort of amazing when you get to a certain point where you know you're there. You get this kind of spiritual feeling. It's a feeling like you want to half cry and half laugh at the same time. It's kind of a sense of connection with the past. And we're in one of those locations right now. We're dead on the Wilderness Boone Trace right now. They're documented this is it. So we've stopped for a minute just to get that feeling, and you can sense the past here.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Really up on all that. I wish I could tell you more, but I don't know how all I know is
What?
Okay, we're still on the trail, and with that spiritual feeling, I just feel really special that I'm here with my son, who's taking this on as a project. And, he's hiking what I can't do it, and I'm real grateful, and it's just cool.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, no other place that I could be, but right here.
Yeah, I see you got a
now,
GoPro on too.
Yep.
Yeah, good, good. Well, glad you're here, glad you're doing this.
Me too.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ernie.
Anything else?
No,
Okay,
good.
anytime, just stop me and we'll do it.
That's interesting.
Here we are, we've gone up the Cumberland Mountain through the gap and down the other side, and we've landed in Kentucky, what the pioneers thought of as the promised land. Curtis and Given are continuing on their journey, and they'll sweep around Middlesboro, that was very swampy in the day, and they'll head north to Boonesboro. I have to say that Cumberland Gap National Historical Park is just the centerpiece for this whole story. It's almost in the middle of the journey that they have taken and that the pioneers were taking, and it was a dangerous place, it was a treacherous place, and it's gone down in history as that. We would love for folks to come and walk part of the Boone Trace and the Wilderness Road and search out that spirit that seems to still be here. Somehow it's alive, it's here, and you can feel it when you're on the trail. And it's been amazing to me, the many people that have come together to make this happen and to witness this journey and to make it part of their lives today. And we hope that it will continue to be that way for us as Americans, and that we'll remember the Boone Trace, that we'll remember Daniel Boone. I hope that we will all look back at our ancestors, what they fought for in this great country of America. And for many of us that live in this area, we should be so proud that we can still walk those footsteps today, and we need to share it with the world and make sure that spirit permeates in places where darkness is today, and that maybe we're forgetting about our liberty. The history of the Cumberland Gap still hasn't stopped, but it didn't stop when the pioneers were using other passageways over the mountains. It continued on. It was extremely famous, which is why Abraham Lincoln himself wanted this gap to be held by the Union forces during the Civil War. Of course, that didn't happen. The South got here first. Actually, the Home Guard got here and took over the gap, and through the years of the Civil War, which we're just finishing up the 150th celebration or commemoration of that war that took so many Americans from us, so many of our ancestors, we're looking at how this gap exchanged hands several times. It was held by the South twice and by the North twice. Why was it so important for both sides to hold it? Well, for the South, this was a dividing line. Any enemy that could get across the Cumberland Gap had a free passageway down further south to the railroads that the Southern Army, the Confederate Army, used to transport their men and their supplies up and down the Valley of Virginia from Chattanooga and on up to the Army in Northern Virginia. So it was an extremely important artery for their supplies and men. And if the Northern Union troops could get through the gap, then they could get to that and sever their lines. Now, why did the North want it? Well, kind of the same thing, except for it didn't have so much to do with arteries of transportation. It had more to do with just protecting their borders. The funny thing about it is that most people think that this area was largely Confederate, but in the mountains there were many, many people that sided with the Union, and they really lived a hard life. Many men that wanted to fight for the Union made it through the Gap up into Kentucky to be trained to fight for the Union Army that left their women home alone. They were very tortured. Their young men were sought out and sometimes killed when they found out that their fathers and husbands had gone beyond the Gap to be trained to fight for the Union Army. So you see layer upon layer of history here, and even up to Lewis and Clark. They actually, when going east back to make their report after their expedition, came through the Cumberland Gap. And to take it full circle back to Abraham Lincoln, his grandfather came through the Cumberland Gap. Guess what his name was? Abraham. Our president was named after him. But guess how the elder Abraham died? He was shot and killed by an Indian out in his field on the frontier. So today we come full circle at Cumberland Gap. Come here, see the face of your ancestors in this place, and relive their journey.